In 1987, two boys grew up on the same block in Detroit. Same street, same school, same lunch table. Their names were Darius and Marcus. By the time they were 18, everyone in the neighborhood already knew how their stories were going to end. Marcus was going to be a doctor. Brilliant, focused, driven. The kind of student teachers talked about in the staff room. Darius was going to cut hair, not because he lacked ambition, but because he loved it. He had been cutting his brother's hair since he was 13. By 16, he was charging $3 a head in the garage. By 1995, Marcus had his medical degree. By 2003, he was a fully licensed physician earning just over $210,000 a year. Darius opened his barbershop in 1996, a small space on a corner in his neighborhood. By 2003, he was earning around $48,000 a year. The gap between their incomes was over $160,000 per year. Marcus bought a house in a suburb that required a $4,000 monthly mortgage. Darius rented a modest apartment for $900 a month. In 2010, at the age of 38, Darius sat down with a notebook and wrote something that would change the direction of his financial life. He wrote one question at the top of the page: how much money do I actually need to stop working and never worry about money again? That question was the beginning of everything. Darius calculated that if he could live on $35,000 a year in retirement, and if his money earned a conservative 4% return, he would need approximately $875,000 invested. That was his number, not a vague someday number, not an inspirational poster number. A real, calculated, specific target he could work toward like a destination on a map. Marcus had never asked this question. Not at 38, not at 45, not at 50. Not because he was unintelligent. He was one of the most intelligent people Darius had ever known. But Marcus had built a lifestyle that quietly required every dollar he earned. The mortgage, the car payments on 2 vehicles, the private school fees for 3 children, the country club membership, the annual vacations, the wardrobe that reflected his professional image. Each expense felt reasonable individually. Together, they formed a system that consumed his income completely and left him with no gap to build from. Darius had a gap, a small one at first, but a real one. And that gap was everything. Between 2010 and 2026, Darius made 5 specific financial decisions that compounded into something remarkable. Decision 1. He defined his enough number and built his entire financial life around it. $875,000 was Darius's target. He wrote it on a card and kept it in his wallet. Every financial decision he made for the next 15 years was evaluated against one question. Does this move me toward that number or away from it? Marcus never had a number. His financial goal was vague, more comfortable, enough to not worry. Vague goals produce vague results. Specific goals produce specific outcomes. Decision 2, he invested 20% of his income from age 38 without stopping. On a $48,000 income, 20% was $9,600 per year, $800 per month. He automated it immediately. The moment his income hit his account, $800 moved to his investment account before he touched it. He built his life on what remained. Over 14 years, at an average return of 8%, that $800 per month grew to approximately $228,000 from contributions alone. With compounding, his portfolio crossed $700,000. Marcus invested irregularly. Some months he invested. Some months life got expensive. Some months the investment got postponed until things settled down. Things never quite settled down. Irregular investing is how good intentions become missed decades. Decision 3. He kept his housing cost below 25% of his income permanently. Darius's rent was $900 per month. His take-home income was roughly $3,200 per month. His housing cost was approximately 28%, slightly above his target but manageable. He resisted every suggestion to upgrade. When the barber shop began doing well, friends told him to get a nicer place. He calculated what the upgrade would cost against his retirement target and decided it was not worth it. Marcus's mortgage was $4,000 per month on a take-home of approximately $11,500. His housing cost was 35% of take-home. That left significantly less for investing than his income suggested. Housing is the single largest financial lever most people have. Getting it right creates breathing room for everything else. Getting it wrong eliminates that room regardless of what you earn. Decision 4. He refused to upgrade his lifestyle when his income grew. Between 2005 and 2020, Darius's barbershop income grew from $48,000 to $67,000 per year. He hired 2 employees. The shop became a neighborhood institution. When his income increased, he applied a strict rule. Every additional dollar of income was split. Half went to modest lifestyle improvement, half went directly to his investment account. When Marcus received salary increases over the years, his lifestyle grew in exact proportion. Each raise was absorbed within months. Better car, extended vacations, restaurant spending that crept upward, home renovation projects. Marcus earned $210,000 and needed $210,000 to maintain his life. That is not wealth. That is a very expensive treadmill. Decision 5. He used his barbershop as a retirement accelerator, not just an income source. At 50 years old, Darius's barbershop was worth approximately $140,000 as a going concern. He had built its systems, trained his staff, and created a business that could run without him 3 days a week. In 2022, he sold a 60% share in the shop to his senior barber for $85,000 and continued drawing a passive income share from operations. That sale brought his total investable assets to approximately $860,000. On June 14, 2024, at the age of 52, Darius walked out of the barbershop as its owner rather than its operator. He had reached his number. Meanwhile, Marcus is 67 years old and still working, not because he loves medicine, though he does, but because stopping is not currently an option. His mortgage has 18 years left. His youngest child is still in college. He carries $42,000 in credit card and vehicle debt. His retirement accounts hold approximately $380,000, less than half of what Darius retired with, despite earning 4 times more over the same period. Marcus is not a cautionary tale about income. He earns $210,000 a year. He is a cautionary tale about something far more important: the gap, the difference between what you earn and what you keep. Darius kept more of $48,000 than Marcus kept of $210,000. Not because Darius was luckier or smarter, but because Darius understood that wealth is built in the gap between income and spending. And he protected that gap with the same care he gave his best client. The lessons you cannot afford to miss. Lesson 1. Your number matters more than your income. Most people never calculate their retirement number. They save vaguely toward a vague future. Darius's $875,000 target changed everything because it gave every financial decision a direction. Calculate your number, write it down, put it somewhere you see it every day. Lesson 2. Automation is the only financial discipline that actually works long-term. Willpower fails. Life gets expensive. Emergencies arrive. Darius's investment habit survived for 14 years without interruption because it was automatic. His brain never had to make the decision. The system made it for him. Automate your savings before you touch your income, not after. Lesson 3. Lifestyle inflation is the most expensive habit most people never notice they have. Marcus earned 4 times Darius's income and retired with less. The mechanism that produced that outcome is the same one operating in most households right now. Every raise absorbed, every bonus spent, Every income increase matched by an expense increase, the gap stays at zero, the wealth gap stays at zero, and 20 years pass. Lesson 4. Your biggest financial asset is not your income. It is your gap. Darius built a small gap on a modest income and protected it for 26 years. That gap, invested consistently and compounded over time, produced retirement at 52. The gap is the engine. Income is just the fuel. You can have enormous amounts of fuel and no engine. That is Marcus. You can have modest fuel and a powerful engine. That is Darius. Lesson 5. Know what your business or skill is actually worth and use it strategically. Darius's barbershop was an asset he built intentionally. He did not just cut hair for 26 years. He built a system, trained people, created recurring revenue, and eventually monetized the business itself. Your skills, your practice, your profession, these are assets beyond their income. The question is whether you are building them as assets or just collecting a paycheck from them. Darius and Marcus still speak every month. They have lunch twice a year at the same diner they have been going to since 1998. Marcus does not resent Darius. He respects him deeply. At their last lunch, Marcus said something that has stayed with Darius since. He said, "I spent 30 years building a life I could not afford to stop living." That sentence is the entire story. Because wealth is not about what you earn. It is about what you build. And what you build is determined not by your income, but by one simple daily question. Am I building a life I can afford to stop living? Not a life that looks impressive from the outside. Not a life that signals success to the people you went to school with. A life structured deliberately around a number, a gap, and a system. Darius built that life on $48,000 a year with a pair of scissors and a notebook. The income you have right now is enough to begin. The only question is whether you will ask yourself the same question Darius asked in 2010. How much do I actually need, and what am I going to do about it starting today?